Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news. Erik ten Hag has got big plans already to change Manchester United's fortunes. Of course, we've got updates on whether Erik ten Hag will be the new manager of Manchester United, all the fallout and analysis from the game yesterday. This ridiculous notion, I believe, that Ralf Rangnick has to take full responsibility for where this team is, and the complete misuse of Ralf Rangnick, I think, needs to be spoken about as well as this myth that I've seen that Erik ten Hag will not be afforded time by Manchester United fans, which again I just think is a myth perpetuated by the media, who will actually drive the anti-Ten Hag movement early days, as we've seen with others. We saw it with Jose Mourinho. He'd only been in the job 2 months and there was stories coming out that he'd lost the dressing room. We know how the media work. We know how some of these ex-players work. But look, the headline, we're going to be talking about Erik ten Hag's big plans. Robin van Persie coming in as an assistant coach has been spoken about overnight. Timber, the centre-back from Ajax, and obviously Anthony as well. I mean, look, if that's his early start before he even comes into the managerial position, get this man in ASAP, because to be honest with you, what's Pochettino's plans? Get me Declan Rice and Harry Kane. Two obvious signings like Wan-Bissaka and Maguire again. Now, I'm not saying they wouldn't work, but it's not really rocket science development, is it? I look at what Erik ten Hag's plans are, and I think, you know what? There is a development plan there. There is a future plan there. There is an element of excitement there. But look, let me just say this first of all. There's a couple of things I wanted to say right at the start, and I want to get your points on this. We'll also be talking about this ridiculous notion that Rashford needs a new manager to get the best out of him. Whether it's Marcus Rashford, Harry Maguire, Scott McTominay, or whoever else has not played well this season, they're in a unique position this year that they've had two managers. Ollie at the start and now Rangnick. Two very different managers, and both managers have not had the players play for them. There's a very clear indication here that these players should not be listened to on who the manager's going to be, and should not be afforded a third opportunity to try and play better under another manager. They have let themselves down, and they have let the fans and the club down this season under two different managers. And you had people yesterday, journalists and ex-players, saying, oh, Marcus needs a new manager to get the best out of him. He's had two this year, and he's still not delivered. Time to look at these players and say they are responsible. Stop making excuses for multimillionaires who can't be arsed to perform on the pitch for the fans that pay them. Anyway, I want to talk about Erik ten Hag on that point as well. I don't know where this is coming from. I do not know where this is coming from. Basically, I do know where it's coming from. Simon Stone was talking this morning. He did an article about United and basically said it appears to be Pochettino or Ten Hag. Now, Simon Stone's a BBC journalist, Manchester United correspondent, very close to the club. Some say he's a tap-in merchant. What that means is that he won't come out with a story today like United have bid for Declan Rice. That's not how he does it. He's very speaks about what he knows. Some would say very, very accurate, because he gets accurate information. So he's been talking about the managerial situation and said that it's between Pochettino and Ten Hag. It appears to be Pochettino. His stock has fallen because of what he's done at PSG, and obviously it's a while since he was any good. But with Erik ten Hag, although he's the buzzword manager, a lot of people are valuing Ten Hag for what he did in 2019 with Ajax, which, funnily enough, he lost to Poch. Can I just stop you there, Simon? Manchester United fans who want Erik ten Hag are not hyping him up because of what he did in the Champions League in 2019. I mean, again, it's just lazy journalism. I can't be arsed with this lazy journalism. Man United fans are not hyping up Erik ten Hag because of what he did in 2019. What he did in 2019 with Ajax was very good, but he rebuilt that team. He's continued to win titles, and he's continued to play exciting football. That is why Pep Guardiola didn't sit in a press conference on Friday and say what a fantastic, exciting manager Erik ten Hag is because of what he did in 2019. Erik ten Hag is the number one choice for many United fans because over the last few years, he is a very exciting European candidate for the Manchester United job, who plays a very attacking, exciting football at a club where they demand that and they demand success. It's nothing to do with 2019. I'm fed up with this media rhetoric trying to demean and diminish what Erik ten Hag has done. And on top of that, in the same article, it goes on to say that basically concerns about Erik ten Hag, can he deal with the week-to-week pressure of playing in the Premier League where the demands are there? Hold on a minute with this Premier League arrogance. When you're Ajax manager, the expectation is that you win the league every year. The expectation is that you win every week. How can it be that it's more demanding to manage Manchester United expectations than it is Ajax, when Ajax have realised their expectations under Erik ten Hag, and even like yesterday, they're away to They're away in a difficult game against the top 6 side. PSV are away as well. They win 2-1 from 1-0 down, or 3-1 actually. The pressure's there. What pressure is this demand that we have in the Premier League from Manchester United? Like, it's almost like we're so arrogant. Oh, Dutch manager, he can't deal with the expectations at Manchester United. What are these expectations then? Are these the demand of expectations when we have a run of fixtures like Burnley and Norwich at home and Brighton and Southampton that we should take 5 wins in a row, but we never bloody do? Like, let's not pretend that the demands of the Premier League have been met by any manager at Manchester United over the last decade since Sir Alex Ferguson. We're talking like Erik ten Hag's going to come into the club and the fans are going to be, wow, look, those first 10 games are, if you're not invincible this year and you don't win every game, you're out on your arse. We're rubbish. We're rubbish. What are we talking about that Erik ten Hag can't deal with the pressure of the Premier League? When we're rubbish. We've just drawn at home to Everton. Like, let's not pretend there is this huge pressure. And I think it's almost to me like the only thing they can attack Erik ten Hag with is his inexperience. But we've already been down this road of Premier League experience being irrelevant. Over 90% of the Premier League winning managers didn't have experience. And we've already been down this road of managers that have come into the Premier League without experience and done well. It's preposterous. And what I'm also starting to see now is that, yeah, the Man United fans will turn on Erik ten Hag in no time. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm calling this out. Man United fans will turn on Erik ten Hag. I've been doing this show for years. I know what the community is like. It is not United fans who turn on the managers. It is not United fans who turn on the managers. Trust me, Mourinho, from very early days, the media decided that Mourinho was done. It was the media that were turning on Mourinho very, very, very quickly. It was ex-players who wanted to turn on Mourinho very, very quickly. Ollie, the fans turned on him first, after giving him a long time, because the media and ex-players wanted to protect Ollie. I will predict something to you. If Erik ten Hag is given the Man United job, it will not be the fans who turn on Erik ten Hag first. It will be the media and it will be the ex-players, because they don't want him. And that is the truth. Me personally, as a United fan, if you've been watching the United stand, I was very late on Mourinho. I didn't turn against Mourinho until very late, and I was very late with Solskjaer. You can check the videos. So let's not pretend it's United fans who turn on these managers first. Mourinho, it was the media and it was the ex-players. Ollie, everybody gave him too long. Let's not pretend that Ten Hag, who is the fans' choice, is going to get turned on after 3 or 4 weeks. I guarantee, I know this fan base, most of it, very, very well, and how it works. It will not be the fans that turn on Erik ten Hag. It will be the media. I guarantee you they will turn first because it's not their man. So don't start allowing them to take a pop at the fans, because history shows a very different story. A lot of the time it depends whether the manager is the one the media want. And as we know, the media want Poch. So they will go for Ten Hag, but it won't be the fans who go for Ten Hag. And don't let them demean you and make out that you will. Because I see a lot of United fans who want Erik ten Hag, whose eyes are wide open to the mess that this team is. Nobody's expecting Erik ten Hag to come into this club this summer and make us a title contender next year. Nobody. And let's not forget as well, it was this board that have caused this problem. What they did, and I want to talk about Rangnick now, and then we're going to talk about these signings of Erik ten Hag. But first of all, let me just read these super chats. So, pre-Prem experience before a Big Six club is a myth. Pep, Klopp, Mancini, Conte, Pellegrini, Ancelotti, Fergie, experienced managers who managed top 6. Rodgers, Hodgson, Nuno, Benitez all failed. Exactly. The manager and fans should turn on the owners and players hard. I'm so angry with the spoiled attitude of both owners and player, with a very few exceptions, says Alf. Well, I did want to talk about this, and I mentioned it a few times, and it's not nice when you predict something and it comes to pass, but effectively I've always felt that the United board wrote the season off when they sacked Ollie. They sacked Ollie too late, and then they brought in an interim manager and didn't back him, and now we're in this mess. And I think what Man United, and this is the problem with United's board, and remember this was Ed Woodward's board, so hopefully things might have changed under Richard Arnold, I hope, but that board should have sacked Solskjaer the very next day after the Liverpool humiliation. The writing was on the wall. How many more weeks did it take? How many more points did it take before we lost to Watford? They sacked Solskjaer, they brought Ralph Rangnick in, and basically what they thought was going to happen is that we would coast top 4, write the season off, don't buy anybody, don't do anything amazing, and we'll sort it all out in the summer. They wrote the season off thinking we'd coast 4th place, and in the summer we could rebuild in the Champions League for next season. They wrote the season off. It's gone completely wrong. And now they've wrote next season off as well. What they thought was going to happen is, we'll sack Solskjaer, we'll get Rangnick in, we've got good enough players to get 4th place, and in the summer we'll go again, we'll get a manager in, and we'll go again next year with a fresh start in the Champions League. What's going to happen now is, we haven't coasted top 4, the players are a joke, we're probably going to be in the Europa League or the Conference League, and we've written next season off as well because we're not in the Champions League. That's a big clap to the board, and I don't see enough people talking about this as well. We blamed managers instead of players for years, says Rest Up Build Up. They wrote this season off, and in the process they've written next season off. That's the bottom line. It was very, very clear to me and many others in November that when they didn't get a permanent manager in and they went with an interim coach, they were going to write the season off thinking they would get 4th and then start again in the summer, and actually they've written next season off, haven't they? But the most appalling thing is, when you think about it, and I'm going to be talking about Timber and Anthony in a minute and these transfer stories from Ralph Rangnick, from about Erik ten Hag. But when you think about, you wake up this morning to things like Ralph Rangnick doesn't know what he's doing, he needs sacking, he needs kicking out the club, he's got to take responsibility for what's going on at this football club. I think the thing that comes to my mind, and the reason I'm very defensive of Ralph Rangnick, is he speaks the most sense when he's asked things. I think he's quite blunt about the fact that there are players with the right attitude but not the right talent. I don't think you can say that these players don't try, they're just not good enough. Liam says we can still get top 4, we'll win out, okay. But the big thing for me with Ralph Rangnick is that, I mean, Neville was on about Rashford yesterday. ESPN did an article, I think it was Mark Ogden, about Rashford needing a new manager. And I'm like, what journalistic school did you go to? Like, how far have you got your head up your arse that you can't see what's going on? Like, we've had 2 managers this season. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who is basically responsible for where we are, yet there are still people saying we shouldn't have sacked Ole. Hello, did you watch the game that he got sacked for? Watford, having been stuffed by Leicester, City and Liverpool in the previous weeks to that, he should have got sacked. He's caused most of this problem. He was the man who decided not to buy a midfielder this summer. He decided not to do it. And we have lost nearly every midfield battle we've had in a Premier League game this season, including yesterday. So all this Ollie shouldn't have been sacked crap, God knows where we would be, because the players had turned on him anyway. What actually happened is we sacked Solskjaer, we bought an interim coach in. Now this is the genius of United, right? We have appointed an interim coach to take over the mess that Solskjaer left, to take over a bunch of players that have down tools, do not have the attitude and blame everybody else but themselves. Ralph Rangnick was dropped into a situation where the club was in a mess. He was basically thrown into a swimming pool that was full of shit and told to clean it and not drown in it. And ultimately he's drowning in it because it was a mess that he inherited. But the genius of this is he was given a tiny bit of time with no transfer freedom, not even allowed to remove players like Lingard, who've been a waste of time to keep. No decision making at all. Crack on with this bag of shit squad that you've got. Try and get us top 4 and win us the Champions League with this bag of shit. You've got no authority in the transfer window at all. Just crack on with what you've got. And guess what? You've only got 5 months to do it. And now 3 months later, you're not doing a very good job. I don't know why. Forget your consultancy role. Get out. And you've got journalists and fans going, yeah, get rid of him. We brought in a person whose CV is about longevity and rebuilds. And we brought him in to do a short-term, impossible mission to take over Solskjaer's job, sort these players out in 4 months. Oh, you didn't do it. You're off. I mean, it's bloody ridiculous. It's like getting Mo Farah to try and win the 100 metres race. He's a long distance runner. That's what United did. We needed a sprinter and we employed a long distance runner. And ultimately, I haven't got a problem with the long distance runner because a short-term sprinter wasn't what we need. We need a long distance runner. We've brought Rangnick in and we're criticising him for failing to do something nobody could have done in a specialism he doesn't have. He's not a quick fix. Gus Hiddink at Chelsea used to get brought back to do a short fix. Ralph Rangnick is a builder of football clubs that we've dropped in to do a short 4-month turnaround. It's the ridiculous nature of this club, and we're probably going to force Rangnick out of the club now, having not utilised his strengths. The reason we were excited about Rangnick back in December was because he's a builder of clubs. You drop him in, he sees what's going wrong in the basement, and then he moves through the club to rebuild it over the next 2 or 3 years. No, let's drop him in. He didn't get top 4. Sack him. The way this club is run is completely ridiculous. We're going to give Ralf Rangnick, a builder of football clubs, 4 months and then get rid of him. We gave Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, a man who got sacked by Cardiff, 3 years. We just get everything the wrong way round. I'm surprised Ronaldo's not going to play at centre-back next week. Maybe stick him in goal. We don't utilise the talents we've got in the right way. Stick to the bloody plan. We were never getting top 4 before Rangnick came in. Somebody said yesterday if we'd kept Ollie, I think we'd be comfortably top 4. What planet do you live on? Can I have a pint of that? Bloody hell. We were heading for mid-table. We're a joke of a club with a joker set of players and a joke the way we're being run. And to start attaching blame to Rangnick. Look, in a very simple sense, these players have down tools. They've down tools, they're not good enough, and they don't care. And we saw that completely yesterday. I saw Bruno's interview afterwards. I saw other players afterwards. Yeah, we'll go again. It's not where we want to be, but we believe we're good players. Yawn. I've heard it all before. Boring. Bore off. Go and shake hands and smile at the opposition as you walk off the pitch. You absolute set of bottlers. You've let everybody down. Your excuses mean nothing. Get to your room and tidy it. You're not having your phone either. I'm bored of you. Bored of your behaviour. It's boring, and ultimately, as I said before, it's a very rare thing that you get 2 managers in 1 season and the players are consistently crap. What does that say to you? Anybody, I'd have this conversation with anybody. If you're trying to blame Rangnick or you're trying to blame some other reason, or they're just in bad form, 2 different managers, 2 very different styles, and they've consistently played shit for both. The players are not good enough. And Erik ten Hag's going to have to get rid of a lot of these players. The thing from yesterday was when Rangnick spoke to the media saying he isn't the one to speak about what's happening. Looks like he won't be staying on. Tyrese, look, we've got Ricky on the show tonight. I know he's always been a little bit dubious about Rangnick. We've got Adam, who's been very pro as well. We'll go through Rangnick in more detail tonight. But ultimately, it looks like if he walks out of this club, what a waste. I dread to think what an Arsenal or a Liverpool or a Manchester City would have done with Ralf Rangnick. A proper run, forward-thinking football club would have used Ralf Rangnick for what he should be used. He's consistently come out and said, my focus is the team. I'm not involved in the transfer chats. I'm not involved in the managerial chats. So basically, the club lied again. We brought Ralf Rangnick in. We were spun stories about him coaching Murta, how to be a director of football, helping the club rebuild. Ultimately, we've given him a manager's job, which he hasn't done in years. We've not utilised his skills at all. We've not listened to him. We've overruled him. We've just said crack on with the team, with Solskjaer's coaches as well. Let's not forget, most of the coaches he's had to use are Darren Fletcher, Mike Phelan, and all of Ollie's coaches. It's a shit show. He's been... I would even say, is there some sort of spin cycle here that United had planned all along? Bring Ralf Rangnick in. The fans all love it because it's forward thinking, but don't use any of his skills at all. Just make him manage the team with Ollie's coaches and don't listen to him. It's a shambles. In a sentence, we brought in a long distance runner and asked him to run 100 metres. Like, that's what Ralf Rangnick is. He's a rebuilder of clubs. He's not a short-term fix, and we've completely misused him. And as for his tactics yesterday, I'll say what I said at half-time. Pep Guardiola could have been in charge yesterday. Those players, they ain't playing for the fans. They ain't playing for the club. They ain't playing for the manager. Look at their average positions. No manager in the right world would have those average positions like that. They're all over the place. Pogba's playing for himself. Luke Shaw's bloody nowhere near where he should be. Bruno's not playing as a false 9. Sancho's tucking in. McTominay's hiding. They're just indisciplined and uneducated footballers who just don't know what they're meant to do. There's no point in having a really good coach because they're just not good enough. If you've ever played any football, right? If I put Pep Guardiola in charge of the lads I used to play football with at school lunchtime, some of them were shit. They barely know how to tie their laces, but people think, oh, Pep's in charge, they'll start playing tiki-taka. Those players are shit. Some of them are shit for United. Doesn't matter who the manager is. You watch it game in, game out. They haven't got the brains to play football. Ralf Rangnick came in, for the first half an hour against Palace, it looked like it was a new United. They go, oh, this is too hard, we'll never do it again. They haven't got it. They can't do it. Even Bruno Fernandes is indisciplined. It's so obvious He just runs around everywhere. In the first half or the second half yesterday, he tackles in the right back position. We're in a position to start a good attack. He tries a 50-yard Hollywood pass. And you're like, one, you're out of position in right back, and two, you've just hit a pass that's impossible. Where's the discipline to play the way a Rangnick would teach you, the way a Pep would teach you? Because they're all out for themselves. They're all trying to do things that they're individuals. We're not a team. We need to remember that Ralph was undermined from the moment he got here by the players and the board, just like we knew. Hey, you know what, Sean, as well, I was just about to say that. If you want to go in on Rangnick, what happened in the first 3 weeks he was there? That's when all the leaks started as well. These players are a disgrace. There's a lack of leadership. They're totally out for themselves. They fucked up this season. They're a disgrace. And you know, when we're talking about the manager, if anybody on that board is consulting these players on who the next manager is, just sit down for 1 minute, watch that game yesterday, think of the last 9 months, think of 2 managers they've failed under. Why would you listen to any of these players? The conversation you should be having is, what player is part of our future from yesterday? Because there's very few of them that should be. If you're talking to them about who the next manager is, it's a disgrace, mate. An absolute disgrace. They should not be consulted on anything. Their stock and their trust went a long time ago. They should be coming back in the summer, quietly getting on with their job and hoping they've got a future at United. Consulting them about who they think should be the manager, get out. Get out. I mean, no way. Barcelona signed Adama Traore, Ferran Torres and Pierre Aubameyang to support Xavi, and we didn't sign anyone for Rangnick, and these journos expect him to compete. BG. Well, look, this is what I would say about Erik ten Hag as well. It became very, very obvious to me, very, very early on, that certain ex-players and the media didn't like Rangnick. And you know why they didn't like him? Because he's new. They don't know anything about him. The media in this country is very insular. They love British players. They love managers that come here and, you know, adopt our way of thinking. This is why they love Poch. They didn't like Rangnick because they didn't know anything about him. Oh, why don't you do some research? Can't be arsed. I'm only bothered about the Premier League. Like, it was very clear they didn't like Rangnick from the start. He's not been treated well. He's not been respected. And, you know, I watch the Champions League or Sky or something like that. You listen to the pundits after the game, and you can tell they don't like him. They're dropping their little, wow, the manager's you've got to look at the manager there. Oh, got to look at the manager there, have we? I've just spent 3 years saying we need to look at the manager, but you won't look at him because he's your mate. But now Ralph Rangnick comes in, whose CV is basically an encyclopedia compared to bloody Ollie's Spot the Dog CV, painting by numbers. But Ollie got no criticism from these pundits. Rangnick, they've been on to him from day one. They almost want to blame Rangnick for the season. And I'm like, one thing Rangnick's not done has been humiliated and annihilated by the sort of teams that Ollie was. Look, Man City was embarrassing, but again, the players down tools at Man City. I think Rangnick's worked a minor miracle considering these players aren't playing for him. It's very obvious they don't want to play for him. This is why he's having to pick Alanga, because Alanga, alright, he's not the finished article, but he will play for him. There are players on that pitch he has to pick who just don't play for him, and we've seen it. So how are you going to get decent performances? Are you doing the old firm? No, I'm not, Jordan. I'm doing Spurs against Newcastle. So United will not respect Ten Hag, says Lorenzo. The fans will. The fans will. And I see a lot of respect for... I think. Look, ultimately, before we move on, I think Ralph Rangnick's done Mission Impossible. The players turned on him very, very early by leaking stuff to the press. The press turned on him very, very early. And he's been blamed for things that are clearly not his fault. I mean, Rashford was crap before Rangnick came in. Maguire was crap before Rangnick came in. McTominay was crap before Rangnick came in. Ronaldo was struggling to score goals before Rangnick came in. All these problems are just the same problems. The big thing I would say that's disappointed me about the Rangnick era is we've seen no change. We've seen no change. If I could have a question with Ralph Rangnick, my question would be this, and it's the only valid question. I watch United at the moment, Atletico Madrid, Everton, Burnley, and very few times since Rangnick's come into the club have I seen a different direction. But I know with all my heart that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer compared to Ralph Rangnick is like night versus day. Like, they're completely different principles. Rangnick's principles are the principles that Klopp has adopted and developed. Ten Hag, not Ten Hag, Tuchel, Nagelsmann. Ralph Rangnick is a high line, high press, move the ball, intense football. We've hardly ever seen this at United. What we've seen is, and yesterday you could have put Ollie on the touchline with Kadeki, and it's like that. I would love to know the answer to that question because it's very, very clear. I would say to Ralph, why is it that you are such a different manager with such different principles to the previous manager, yet the players are playing exactly the same way? And you know what answer I think we would get? It is impossible for me to get these players to play the way I want them to play because they are not willing to do it. And I think that's the bottom line. They are not willing to change for this manager, which says a lot. Because you look at the way Villa changed from Dean Smith to Steven Gerrard, and that's Aston Villa. Why are these players not able to change or willing to change the way they play football for a completely different manager to Solskjaer? And that's the big question. And again, that falls on the players. They are unwilling and unprofessional and uneducated and ill-disciplined footballers who have become almost mini pop stars in their own minds. Like they're just obsessed with themselves. They don't play for the team. Too much individualism. We should actually be booing these players. Clapping these lot sends wrong messages to the board. Board needs to be reminded who we stand with. Says Sarvesh. I mean, look, I don't condone people booing. I thought United fans in the ground yesterday applauding players, and do they deserve that applause or not? Probably not. But the only thing that came out positive yesterday was the fans. These players will never be able to say that these fans have not given them. I think the way the players have treated the fans this season is disgusting. I think the way they've treated the badge is disgusting. I think the way they've treated the fans is disgusting. I think they've disrespected themselves by not focusing on themselves. But what you saw again yesterday is fans, rightly or wrongly, and I think rightly, supporting the players, and they still can't deliver. We still haven't got a leader on that pitch. There is still no chemistry. We're a very bad footballing side, and those players need clearing out. We've seen a glimpse of Rangnick ball in that first half against Palace, and we haven't seen anything near since, says Tommy. But we've seen glimpses. I thought against Villa we were very good in the first half as well. But you look at the lineup against Villa, I don't think there was a British player on the pitch. Maybe Sancho, but I don't think there was a British player on the pitch. I think it was Matic, Fred, Bruno midfield. I think it was Varane and Lindelof. I think it was Telles and Delot. And I can't remember. I think it was Elanga, Sancho and Ronaldo. And that Villa away in the first half was, I think, one of United's best performances of the season. United need someone like Conte. If they put out the performance like that they've been putting out this season, he would have killed the lot, says Sean. Look, and that's another criticism I'd have of Rangnick as well. If I was on the touchline yesterday, or Conte or someone like that, they'd be getting absolutely balled out. I don't think Rangnick has ever had the authority as well. It's very clear he's not got the authority to ball out these players, and they won't listen to him anyway. The board's got to take the blame for this. As I said, they've recruited a manager who's got no authority, and the players have reacted to that and basically acted like petulant shit. Anyway, look, let's talk about solutions. Erik ten Hag. Overnight, this story is about Erik ten Hag having big plans to take Manchester United forward. This story about an ex-player being an assistant coach is clearly true, by the way. I think what happened is the story came out of the club that they're looking for an ex-player as an assistant coach. And the media have gone and said, oh, Rio Ferdinand, Gary Neville, anything like that. I don't think the club are that stupid. I don't think the club have got any intention of appointing a Rio Ferdinand or a Gary Neville as assistant coach. And quite rightly so. They've got no CV to do it. And, I mean, putting them with Erik ten Hag is like putting tomato ketchup on your roast dinner on a Sunday. It's not going to work. So if you're going to appoint Erik ten Hag, you're going to need to bring, and you want to bring an assistant. And I don't know whether we should have an ex-player at the club. I've got to be honest, I don't really see the point. If I'm Erik ten Hag and I've got the choice between one of the best coaches in Europe or an ex-player who's okay, go for the best player and go for the best coach in Europe. But United seem to want this DNA thing. I think it's a bit weird. So Robin van Persie's been mentioned, and to be honest with you, I don't want an ex-player involved, but if we were going to get an ex-player, I think Robin van Persie would be perfect. Was only at the club for a short period of time, but made a massive impact. Has played at the highest level, Champions League, he's won things, fantastic technical footballer, speaks really, really well, Dutch connection with Erik ten Hag as well, knows the Premier League really well. I'm not saying we're going to get Van Persie, but he is coaching, I think, the under-16s at Feyenoord at the moment. I think Van Persie would be brilliant because he's not ingrained in United like a Fletcher. He's not going to have the certain ex-players on WhatsApp, but he has played at the club, he has played in the Premier League, and he is experienced in it. So I think Van Persie would be very interesting. And I would welcome him at Manchester United if they're going to go down that route. In relation to players, the players and the structure, Timber, who is a centre-back at Ajax, who we'll talk about in a minute, and Anthony have been mentioned as two players that Erik ten Hag would like to bring in with him from Ajax. Now, I actually think it's really important that he does bring a couple of players with him from Ajax, because he's got to be allowed to bring his coaches, and I think a couple of players would help as well. It's never a bad thing as a new manager if you can bring a couple of players in who know how you work, because you drop them in and they are the example to everybody else. They are like, well, we know how he works, this is how it works. And it's two players within the playing staff that the manager can trust straight away. So I don't oppose him doing that. The question will be whether these players can both succeed in the Premier League. But Anthony's a player we would want to sign anyway, regardless of... Imagine Ollie was still the coach and we were doing well. I still think if we needed a winger, Anthony would be being mentioned by you. 22, left-footed right-side player, very good dribbler, very quick, good cross on him. Exactly this. We need a right winger. I think that's very, very clear. So I think Anthony would be a good signing. And then I think Timber's very, very interesting as well. Not a lot of you might not know a lot about, that's bad English, but Timber. But 5 foot, I think he's about 5'10", so he's not tall. He's like, it's the old Kunde argument again. Mark, change of subject, but can you please wish Bruno a happy second birthday? Cheers, mates, says Andy and Bruno. Happy second birthday to Bruno. There we go. She bangs the drum. Gary Neville with boring Hodgson, England coach. Yeah. I don't think Gary wants the job, and I don't think he'd be very good at it either. Problem with United is we think players are brands. They think if you hit them to the fans, they will get better. They don't get that. If you are rubbish, good social media doesn't make you better, says Andrew Bryan. Well, we'll come back and talk about the players in a minute, because I think there's a big problem that United have got that most of you are awake to, as to why we'll be stuck with some of these crappy players for a long time. But in relation to Timber, 20 years of age, Ajax centre-back, I think it'd be a really good signing for United, but not necessarily a signing that starts straight away, although maybe he would. I mean, he's 20 years of age, he's still quite raw, but he's a really intelligent centre-back with a very high ceiling. Personally, I think with Timber, if Ten Hag wasn't going to be our manager, I would be like, I don't know about that. I'm not sure he's ready for that. But what he is, he's very quick, he's very good on the ball, and he's a very, very intelligent centre-back in the system that Erik ten Hag plays. He knows it really, really well. Remember when we was analysing Ten Hag's tactics and how your centre-backs need to be able to pull across to the full-back positions to cover the full-backs? He's very good at that. I think it'd be a really good signing for United as part of this longer-term rebuild, because what we're not going to be able to do, and I think Timber sort of would symbolise what United are going to do over the next 3 years under Erik ten Hag, is that we're not going to sign signings this summer and then challenge for the title next year. What we're going to need to do is have a mix of signings where some players go straight into the team, but some players are there to build their way into the team over the next 2 years. I mean, we're not going to sell Harry Maguire this summer, but we might be able to get rid of him in a year, in which case you bring someone like Timber in who gradually takes the spot of Maguire, and then you get rid of him in a year's time. That is what Arteta did. Arteta didn't get rid of everyone in his first summer. He had to wait till summer 2. He only got rid of Aubameyang a few months ago. So I tweeted it last night. I would look at that first team last night for United and say, over the next 18 months, I'd be looking to get rid of 80% of that team. Like, get rid of it. But it won't all happen in one summer. So I think Timber's interesting. The profile of centre-back is very interesting. He's not like a domineering 6'3" mountain of a centre-back, but he's a very different type of centre-back, which I think Manchester United do need. He's got very different skill sets to Maguire, Lindelof and Bailly, and obviously Phil Jones. Dortmund lost 4-1 again last night and are out of all competitions. They will definitely be in the race for Erik ten Hag, says Leon. Yeah, I think you're probably right. Ten Hag, new manager. I know he is. Happy to give him 3 to 5 years to turn it around, because I know he'll be a success. Only manager since Sir Alex Ferguson I'd be happy with, says Ahmed. How would you feel about Wayne Rooney being an assistant coach, says Carl? Well, it's not going to happen. Rooney's not going to be coming in as Erik ten Hag's assistant, and he wouldn't want somebody like that anyway. But hopefully Wayne can carry on building out his CV where he is. But that just reminds me something about Erik ten Hag as well. You know, I was talking about at the start of the video, like on this Simon Stone article, how there's fears around Erik ten Hag and whether he can handle the pressure of the Premier League. Yeah, the pressure of the Premier League. Yeah, where we're drawing at home to Everton and dropping points all over the place. Yeah, the pressure's massive at United, isn't it? I mean, we just literally had our worst Premier League season ever. and the pressure on these players, they're smiling as they're walking off the pitch. They're not even bothered. So the pressure's not even there. But what people forget as well is United fans want to win the Premier League. We want to win the Champions League. We want to win the FA Cup. But first step, we just want to play good football. We've watched United for 9 years basically scrapping for 4th place, playing pragmatic, crab, counter-attack football. That's the truth. Nobody talks about this either. With Erik ten Hag, he plays attractive football. His principles are attracting football. He's going to build a side that's trying to play good football. We are talking about whether he can handle the pressure of the Premier League. I don't care. He's one of the best available managers in the world at the moment, and he plays some of the best football in the modern world. And people are talking about, can he deal with the pressure? I couldn't give a toss. I'm watching United play like the away side. You got James Maddison running the midfield yesterday, coming off the pitch saying, I'm really gutted we didn't win. And quite rightly so, Leicester should have won. And we're talking about whether a Dutch manager that manages Ajax to titles can deal with the pressure at United. He will be loved within weeks because we will see a style of football we haven't seen in over a decade. His style of football is easy on the eye. United fans just want to see good football, and he will deliver that. Fucking hell. Nobody's winning FA Cups. Nobody's winning Carabao Cups. Nobody's winning Premier League titles. The first step is not can he deliver titles. It's can he deliver some joy? Can he deliver some football that we're proud to watch? The club is on its arse. We're nowhere near trophies. We're completely irrelevant. We've got players who don't give a shit, and we play some of the worst football in the league. Step one is not winning an FA Cup. It's winning the hearts and minds of the fans who are completely fed up. Fans are fed up to the back teeth with what is being served up. Get a manager in who is a manager that Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp would speak glowingly about. Get him into our club and see what he can do. There's no guarantees, of course there's not, but he's one of the most exciting football managers in the world at the moment. Get him into Manchester United, get some positivity back, and I'll tell you what, he will be in the unique position where the fan base is absolutely fed up of those players and will not give them an inch if they don't deliver for this manager. Nobody is going to go, it's the manager's fault, it's not the player's fault. And if the media try and twist it that way, nobody listens to the media at the moment because they're so out of touch. Their manipulative tactics about things they're uncertain about have been called out and established. And fans have their own minds now. And Erik ten Hag has to be the choice. I will sit here right now and I can give you no guarantee where we'll finish next year, whether we'll be in a title race in the next 3 years, whether we'll win a trophy in the next 5 years under ten Hag. I can't give you that. But what I can give you is this manager is the best candidate available who will put a smile back on our face by trying to get us playing good football. And that is the step that is the most important step at the moment. Whether he's got the authority to sign players, whether he walks in the door and says, and the club say, you're not selling this player, you're not selling that player, that's the problem that every manager is going to have. I looked this morning at the salaries of some of our players and I'm like, well, he's not getting sold, he's not getting sold, he's not getting sold. What if Bruno Fernandes puts in a season next year like he has this year? I love Bruno Fernandes. I think he's a fantastic player. But the progression of him over the last year has been disappointing. He's become more vocal, more moany, almost more arrogant and less of a player. He has become typical United problem over the last 5 years. We buy players with hope. They look decent and then they become indoctrinated into United. They get big egos and they lose their ability. And nearly every signing we've had has done that. Imagine if Bruno Fernandes has a bad season next year. He's got 4 years left on his contract on 250 grand a week. No one will go near him. So we're stuck with Bruno now. He better deliver. We're stuck with Harry Maguire. He's on 200 grand a week. He's got another 3 years left on his deal and we paid £80 million for him. We're stuck with him. Luke Shaw, look, he's still got a bit left on his contract, but is he going to run it down? He's still got a year or two left on it, so he's on big wages. Wan-Bissaka, not even starting at the moment. Big wages, 50 million quid, big contract, we're stuck with him. There's just so many players at that club that we're stuck with and they're not performing well. So I still stand by we need new owners. And a new owner that comes in and says, I'm not bothered about money. I'm not here to rip the club off. I want the club to be successful. If we lose £50 million getting rid of Harry Maguire, get rid of him. But United are trying to be relevant whilst also trying to make money. And making money isn't just the money you make from a brand. You make money by not losing money. And we would need to lose a lot of money to lose some of these players that we need to let go. And that's going to be the problem. Eric Ten Hag is going to have to work with some of these players that don't deserve to be at the shirt. I tell you what, if you did a poll now and it literally was keep or buy, and if it's keep or sell and it was sell, there'd be a lot of players who wouldn't be here next year who will be here next year, and that's going to be the problem. Please smash a like on the video, by the way. I would prefer an experiment with Ten Hag that could be great than the safe option of Poch, says Matthew. I still would not put it past this club to go with Pochettino. I'd be disgusted. And I go back as well. I mean, look, I've left this towards the end on purpose. I would say this as well. I thought it last night. I think if we knew Eric Ten Hag was the manager before yesterday, we would have won yesterday. I think the club have... I'm not giving the players any leeway here. They've proven themselves to be the problem this year. One of the big problems. Not the only problem, but one of the big problems. Solskjaer's got to take massive responsibility. I mean, completely out of his depth. How he came into this summer without a midfielder will cost us everything. Absolutely everything. Nobody can tell me 5 games we've won the midfield battle in the Premier League this year. That's disgusting. We've played over 30 times and we've not hardly won a midfield battle. That's on Solskjaer. But the board have got to take responsibility as well. They wrote the season off in November. They trusted in a coach that they should have got rid of way before they did. And I do think there was a bigger chance we would have won the game yesterday if we knew who the manager was on Friday. And they've basically allowed this mentality within that football club that it doesn't matter. There's no urgency. It doesn't matter. We're getting an interim until the end of the season in November. Chelsea brought Tuchel in January and won a Champions League. We wrote the season off in November. Shit rolls downhill. Ultimately, if you go into work tomorrow and your boss is like, we don't really need to start working until August. Are you going to work your ass off? No. It's the most obvious human mentality that if you go into work tomorrow and your boss says, it doesn't really matter what you do at the moment because we're starting again in August, then you're going to down tools a bit. You're going to go on the internet. You're going to get on your phone. You're not going to work hard. And United have allowed that mentality to creep in ever since November. Yeah, it doesn't really matter what we do now. How are you expecting your club to be run with urgency and endeavour when you're basically saying, yeah, we'll take our time. As long as we're sorted by August, it doesn't matter. And that's exactly what's happened. We've been on that international break, knocked out of by Atletico Madrid at the start of the international break. We come back from the international break and nothing's changed. There's no new manager, there's no new direction. And you could see that in the players yesterday. Even Bruno with a new contract, there was no response. Those players played yesterday like they did before the break. That break has not recharged them, it's not inspired them. They didn't come back with anything different. In fact, they probably came back worse. And the club, I'm telling you now, if they'd sorted the manager out in the international break and we knew who the new manager was going to be, and those players knew who the manager was going to be, I guarantee there would have been more from them yesterday. Because they'd have been like, shit, he's watching from now. They played yesterday like they don't care. And you've got to look at the board and say, we're dropping points every week because you are sat there doing some overarching chat about who the manager's going to be. But there was still a chance of top 4 yesterday. If you'd sorted that manager out, we might have been seeing more urgency from the players. Now, the players obviously are to blame because they should be putting that urgency in anyway. But the lack of leadership and direction from the football club is slow, it's boring, it's lazy. And that reflects in the team play. It's slow, it's boring and lazy. And I firmly believe if they'd have been proactive in that international break and they'd got a manager sorted out and we'd gone into tomorrow morning, people would have been excited. It's the start of a new dawn. These players need to show they want to be part of the Ten Hag journey. And they didn't do it. They didn't. Do you think the technical players that the United signed, like Herrera, Blind, Van der Beek, etc., got frizzled out due to dominance of non-technical players? Yes. We've become a club that's... And Rangnick's hinted at it many times and Solskjaer hinted at it as well. We've become a club that's focused on effort. How many times does he talk about a McTominay or a Fred or other players and say they've got the right attitude, We used to hear it from Ollie all the time, but they'll never sit there and say, I love the way he moves into spaces, takes the ball off the back four. He's such an intelligent player, the way he reads the games. He can pick a pass. He can start attacks. He covers the full-backs when they're out of position. We never hear anything technical about these players because all they are Duracell bunnies, passion merchants. And we have basically, it's a great point from Dixon, we have basically become a team full of passion merchants who try hard and are not technically good enough. And how many of our midfielders would start for Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea, Arsenal? None. Spurs? None. Even Bruno would struggle. I would always say, oh yeah, Bruno would start for Liverpool. He wouldn't. No, he wouldn't. McTominay and Fred, no chance. But even Bruno now is probably not starting for any of the current top four. He's not starting for Arsenal. Odegaard's better than him. That's how bad. And that's the scariest thing. Sometimes a player can be symbolic of United's problems. Bruno's one of my favourite players. If you'd said to me at the start of the season, Bruno won't start for Arsenal by the end of it, I'd say you're having a bloody laugh. He must have had a shit season. Yeah, he has. His arrogance, his behaviour, he's become everything that's wrong with Man United, and it's really sad to see. I'm fed up of him. Every time he takes a knock, he lies down in the same way. He must go to drama school. He lies down like this, like he's dead. And then anything that goes against him, he's running around moaning. It's sad to see what Bruno's become this season, and ultimately, he might not like it, but Odegaard is better than you. Odegaard starts ahead of you this season. That's how you fell off. And people will go, oh, he's made more key passes than everybody. Stats can be deceptive. He's still delivered, and I still love him as a player, but he should be a lot better than that, and you know it, and I know it as well. Thanks everyone for watching. I'm doing Newcastle against Spurs at 4:30 on That's Football. 8 o'clock tonight. Ricky's on the show. I'm on the show tonight, and I think we've got Adam and Beth as well. So looking forward to that. We'll talk more in depth about Ranić on the 8 o'clock show. Lots discussed there. Lots for you to think about. Where am I at now? Look, we've got some tough games. We've got Chelsea to play. We've got Arsenal to play. We've got Liverpool to play. And we're at Goodison Park next week. 4 games really tough to play. And we're going to get humiliated. We are going to get humiliated. These players, I'm not blaming Ranić anymore. Ranić has been thrown into mission impossible. He's not a coach. He's a builder of football clubs. The club have completely misused Ranić. I will shout out at any media or ex-player that tries and blames Ranić for this. He has been thrown under the bus with no support. This is on the players now. What I'm looking for over the next few weeks, especially at Anfield, is where's your professional pride for yourselves? You clearly don't want to play for the club. You clearly don't want to play for the fans. You're playing for yourselves now. You've been shite this season. I want to see some professional pride because I'm predicting here now these players are going to continue to down tools and they're going to embarrass us over the next few weeks. The challenge is with you, Man United players, at Arsenal, at Anfield, against Chelsea, next week at Goodison Park. Can you deliver? It's on you. It's time to look in the mirror and say, I'm the problem here. I'm the one that's contributed to United. I've let myself down. Over the next few weeks, it's not about Ranić, it's not about Ollie, it's not about Ten Hag, it's about you. Can you deliver something over the next few weeks that makes us, the fans, think, yes, you've been crap this season, but there might be a chance for you next season? Because that's what you're playing for. The trust in you as individual players has disappeared, and you as individual players have allowed it with your arrogance and lack of discipline in a Manchester United shirt this season. It's up to you now. Over the next few weeks, if you think it's bad now, you go to Anfield and get humiliated. I don't think many of you are coming back from that. Some of you might not be coming back anyway, but it's on the players now. And have they got the humility to realise this and do something about it? Because we're not going to start playing great football this season now, but what we can do is fight. Maybe we've got to be a little bit like Stoke. Maybe we're limited. Maybe some of these players aren't good enough. But look, I want to see some fight. The common denominator over the years has been the owners and the board. Everyone below them sinks to their standards, says Sean. Good point. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care. Make sure you subscribe, bottom right hand corner. 8 o'clock show tonight. And Spurs against Newcastle this afternoon on That's Football. If Spurs win, they're 3 points ahead of us and they've got a game in hand. We are fighting for 6th at the moment and it could get a lot worse. Speak to you in a bit. Thanks for watching.